For my second presentation tonight, I want to present for our Armenian Genocide commemoration. We have three speakers and Congressman Adam Schiff, who's joining us this evening. So I'd like to invite the Congressman, Vahe Lapadigian from the Armenian Youth Federation, Zarhua Varpetian, a senior at Burroughs High, and Zare Khachatorian from the Burbank chapter of the Armenian National Committee of America to join me at the podium. Sorry, you have others here tonight who are going to make presentations?
Students aren't here yet.
Congressman Schiff, I have to say, it's a very pleasant surprise to have you here at Council this evening. We welcome you and Zare, and would certainly invite you both to say words about this important commemoration. I think this year or next year is the 100th anniversary of the genocide, so I invite you to make comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council members. The City of Burbank has for a long time been a supporter of the Armenian cause and has recognized the Armenian genocide through proclamations such as this one. This year, as you mentioned, it's the 99th anniversary of the genocide, and quite unfortunately, it seems that the genocide still continues in Syria, in Kesap, Syria, through sort of the unofficial, semi-official actions of the Turkish government. So I'm glad that we are in Burbank, are here, and we're stating our support for the genocide commemoration, and we are not forgetting that the genocide did occur 99 years ago, and the citizens within Burbank, the Armenian American community within Burbank, stands strong and is happy that a commemoration such as this it takes place in a city like Burbank.
Madam Mayor, council members, thank you for letting me join you tonight to commemorate the loss of 1.5 million Armenian men, women, and children in the first genocide of the last century. I want to tell you, as a resident of Burbank, how much pride I take in living in a city that takes human rights so seriously and shows such respect for history and for those who have suffered through the genocide and their families. To take time at council and through civic events throughout the city to recognize the genocide and to commemorate it. We think that we move forward as a civilization, and in places like Syria and elsewhere we were reminded of how little we have changed as human beings. And that makes it all the more important for us to recognize the tragedies of the past, to speak plainly and unequivocally and truthfully on subjects as grave as genocide. And I'm very grateful that the city of Burbank speaks so loudly on this subject, that the state of California does. And I look forward to the day, and I hope it is very soon, when the United States of America speaks with equal clarity and strength. And I hope, as we move forward towards the 100th anniversary of the genocide, if not before, if not this week, that both the Congress and the administration will speak truthfully, plainly, unequivocally, and forcefully about the Armenian genocide. It has never been in our national interest to become complicit in a campaign of denial. It isn't now, and it never will be. So thank you for the leadership of the city, and I'm enormously proud to be a resident of Burbank.
Thank you for those words. We all know how tirelessly you work in the Congress in seeking recognition of the Armenian genocide, and you all know how much our whole council is in support of human rights everywhere happening now. I mean, these are stories that need to be told, and we need to be more cognizant of this kind of thing going on in the world and take affirmative steps to do whatever we can to stop it. I know that Councilmember Frutos and I were at the Archdiocese, at St. Leon's Cathedral not too long ago for a trio of musicians who performed in anticipation of the 100th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. And it was really just a very moving experience. I mean, the musicians were wonderful, and Archbishop Dodurian has started this as part of his effort to bring more community in. And I think that that's a real opening to the rest of the community as well to participate in those kind of events. So I'd like to read this proclamation to you, Mr. Khatchatorian. Whereas from 1915 to 1923, 1.5 million Armenians were murdered and hundreds of thousands were more forcibly deported from their homes and ancient homeland by the Ottoman Turkish Empire as part of a systematic program of genocide. And whereas April 24, 2014 marks the 99th anniversary of this tragic episode, witnessed by officials and missionaries from the United States and Europe, including ambassadors and officials from Imperial Germany and Austria, both allies of the Turkish Empire. And whereas by denying and trying to distort the facts of this first genocide of the 20th century, the present-day Turkish government deprives the Armenian people of their right to their own history and ancient homeland. And whereas the people of the city of Burbank will continue to remember the atrocities committed against the Armenian nation and all humanity, in order to guard against the recurrence of genocide. And whereas the people of the city of Burbank continue to dedicate themselves to the principle of equal justice for all people and are committed to promoting these values for all generations. Now, therefore, I, Emily Gable Luddy, Mayor of the city of Burbank, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2014 as Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day in recognition of those who suffered as a result of the Armenian Genocide. Urge all citizens to join the Armenian community to overcome prejudice and inhumanity through education, appropriate observance, vigilance, and persistence, and call upon the Turkish government to resolve with representatives of the Armenian nation all grievances stemming from the genocide. Signed this day, 22nd of April, 2014. Mr. Khatchatorian.
Say something to the council.
Oh, of course. She wants to do a photo first.
Thank you. Council members and Mayor, I know I'm not on your agenda, and I'm going to be very brief. I just wanted to thank you for the great job that you do. I've been a resident of Burbank now for 20 years. I love this city. It's extraordinarily well run, and it is so because of you and your predecessors on the council. I think you do an amazing job. I know how hard it is. There's no escape when you're on the city council. In the supermarket, walking down the street, it's a 24-hour day job, 7 days a week, and you all do a magnificent job. The city services are second to none. I feel very fortunate to live in Burbank and wanted to thank you for all your good work. And also, I know you'll be acknowledging Burbank on Parade. It's a real gem, and I know how much goes into the organization of that parade and how many volunteers and hours of city staff. And I just want to tell you it's a wonderful part of the year, and thank you for that as well. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Ara Manoogian, and you'll be followed by Ara Manoogian.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm Ara Manoogian, a resident of Burbank and a business owner. And before I begin, let me just... And today I come to you as an American citizen and a concerned citizen of the city of Burbank. On September 7th, 2013, our President of the United States, Barack Obama, told us of a danger that we are all facing, be that if we are in Burbank or anywhere else in the United States. And he talked to us about an atrocity that took place in Syria with a chemical attack that he said was committed by the president of Syria, President Assad. And he told us that terrorism is on the rise and is being, shall we say, there are terrorists being grown in Syria that will later on possibly come in after us. The United States was one of the places that it's going to be targeted. And he explained to us the importance of how we need to punish those who use chemical weapons against their own people and terrorists and so on. And he was pushing for aerial strikes, if you recall, in support of the opposition that was against the Syrian government. Later on, as a concerned citizen of Burbank and along with other concerned citizens of Burbank, we found ourselves at Adam Schiff's office, our representative in Congress, to share with him our concerns and our objections to haste decisions as far as military action and getting us involved, and wanted to know more about these chemical attacks and what's going on in Syria. And what we learned from Adam Schiff, our congressman, a month later was in a letter which we received stating that there was credible information and confirmed intelligence, and how our representative Adam Schiff does not make hasty decisions when it comes to military action because of what happened in Iraq and weapons of mass destruction, which we never found, and we engaged in a very long war that affected all of us and still affects us today. So shortly thereafter, again, we requested a meeting, a face-to-face meeting with our representative to discuss these issues that concern us, and we had no result in our attempts to meet. And shortly thereafter, information came out that, in fact, it wasn't the Assad government, the elected government in Syria, that carried out the chemical attacks, but in fact it was the insurgents and foreign combatants who found themselves in Syria and who were being supported by our own government, the United States government. And sadly, as it was spoken tonight by the gentleman from the Armenian National Committee of Burbank, that there's been atrocities that have taken place recently in Kesab, the northern region of Syria, and Turkey was a part of that. So we've been reaching out to, unfortunately, to our representative, our representative Schiff, with no results in getting a meeting with him to empower him. And our plan is to empower him with credible information so he can go back and represent us, the American people, and of the 28th district, which he represents, in Washington to stop this madness that's going on. Today, in the last few days, in fact, weapons supplied by the United States government has found its hands into al-Qaeda insurgents that are in Syria today, the same al-Qaeda that we give credit for the World Trade Center bombing. So I ask that people become informed, and we have started a campaign and a website, which is stopthebombinginsyria.com, or nobombsforsyria.com, and I encourage everyone to visit this site and educate themselves and join us in a collective voice to really do what's right, and so our values are being honored of truth, justice, and the American way, because we live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we should be brave about this issue. Even though it's miles away from us, we are being represented by Congress. That is our voice, our collective voice, as we know, and I encourage all Burbank residents and city council members and everybody throughout the region to educate yourselves and take a stance on this. Please, let's stop the bombing. Let's not support terrorism in the Middle East, because it will bite us later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manoogian.